Welcome to the Hunters Hub, a Monster Hunter community podcast for hunters by hunters.
Hello, hunters, and welcome to the Hunters Hub, episode 12. But today, as far as hosts go, it's just 421 me tonight. Both Gog and Lobo ended up getting sick. So today, I'm joined again by Haru17. Hello.
Hi, I'm Nergigante, and welcome to Jackass.
And then Zekarum0 is returning to us again.
Hello, hunters.
Hey. So tonight, it's going to be super spoiler heavy if you care about Monster Hunter World spoilers, because we're going to be talking about the Elder Dragon trailer. The Elder Dragons, or what was it called?
Yeah, it's called the Elder Dragons trailer,
Yeah.
even though it has a lot more than just Elder Dragons in it.
Yeah. So this trailer dropped on January 5th, the live stream. Just for reference, we're recording on the 6th. And this will probably be going out the next weekend. So it's going to be old news by the time you guys hear it. But hey, we're here to discuss it, not really report on it. Everyone already knows about it. So, pretty decent trailer. It was kind of cut up as the sort of like big ending surprise that was Devil Joe coming. Was after the trailer, so if you watched the live stream, it was like at the end of the live stream, and it wasn't with the trailer, so it was kind of weird. I actually didn't catch the whole live stream myself because it was like, it started at like 4 a.m. my time, or 5 a.m. or something like that, so I wasn't up yet, but I hopped in halfway through. But, I mean, enough about that. Not really much came out of the live stream other than the trailer, so... just general impressions. What do you guys think about it?
Well, I guess I'll go first. I liked it. Like, I feel like it showed, it was very cinematic. Like, it really got the blood flowing because the game's coming out real soon, you know? So it's like, it made it really, like, bombastic. And it's like, Elder Dragons fighting each other. We saw, Teostra literally, like, air battling. Was it Kushladora? If I'm correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we got 2 Elder Dragons on a map. I don't think we've ever had that before, so that's something new, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I saw a post about that.
Yeah, there's
And
never
then-
been 2 Elder Dragons on the same map.
Yep, and then so I guess maybe we won't have a special map. Maybe that new Elder Dragon, like for the new game, will have a specific like canyon ridge. But it seems like the Elder Dragons will just be in like the maps we've seen so far, and then the game seems to be focusing on an interconnected world, like one layer on top of another. So who knows? One thing that really stood out to me was the voice acting in English, because I guess I watched the English trailer. I don't know if the Japanese stream was in Japanese still, but
It was.
it made me feel it made me feel a little bit better about like the lip syncing and the English in this game. And I guess we could say that most of like what we saw in the trailer was cuts up pieces of the story mode going forward. So I still have no idea
Right.
what's going on besides we're following the Elder Dragons, but they seem to be the focus of the story now.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be cool to see how we end up. One quick question: do you guys think that our character's gonna be in there and like we're gonna stick out with our different armors, or is like preset cutscenes with other characters? You think?
Yeah, I think I heard Gaijin Hunter talking about how it's going to be the same as with 4. Like your character's armor is going to be reflected. A weird detail though is that like when you watch if you watch the cutscenes again in like your bedroom or what have you, it'll record the armor you were first wearing when you were playing through the game when you saw that encountered that monster in the story.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's actually different because in 4U it actually used what you were currently wearing, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And it still does that the first time. It's just not when you rewatch
Right.
it.
Huh. Well, that's cool.
So about the trailer, I thought it was like since the Rotten Vale trailer, I've been a little bit less excited, a little bit less of that trailer excitement, that new stuff. Due to a couple things, like in that they like teased like Kushala Daora and Teostra pretty heavily at the start of the trailer, so it's like, okay, well those are the new monsters,
Yeah.
or a lot of them. Um, and there were new monsters in the latter half of this trailer, but the other thing, um, what was that with the Third Fleet trailer that like showed the volcano before this, so it was also like a little bit less new.
Mhm.
But I still thought it was really cool for a launch trailer, and I'm excited that they didn't show every new monster, so there's still some surprise.
Yeah, we're just missing four. We're missing 4 monsters still from that leak.
I mean, yeah,
I'd
go
have to
ahead.
count them up.
Because we got Dodugama. We don't know its name, but we know that Zombie Dragon is one of those 5 that weren't shown so far. So, I guess that leaves us 3, not 4.
By zombie dragon, you mean that really big one, the new Elder Dragon looking one, or like the Resident Evil zombie dog looking guy?
You kind of cut out for me there, Zekrom. What did you say?
Are you talking about the newest
Yeah, the
looking
one
Elder Dragon? Like the
in
one
the
that
Rotten
like
Vale.
comes out
Yeah.
of the rock? Besides it, no. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he seems really, really cool. I don't know what kind of mechanic is gonna be associated with him, you know? Like I know they explained that the other like naked zombie dogs has a unique mechanic, right? That he spits on you and like it attracts like a bunch of little guys to come
Hmm.
hunt you down. So I don't know if he's gonna have anything similar to that, 'cause like usually like the main guy has some kind of unique
Yeah.
mechanic. Near Gigante's hardening spikes is sort of like a Cantor coming back, but in a different way.
Almost every monster has some sort of thing about it. I mean, the Jagras, the Great Jagras. I don't know. Its thing is the whole eating Aptonoth whole, which I mean isn't really like a fighting mechanic. It's just a behavioral thing. But I think every monster has a thing. But the new zombie dragon, what we'll call it, Gaijin Hunter mentioned that it could be whatever that environmental hazard is in the Rotten Vale. It seems to be coming out of him.
Lore-wise, he's like the source of what's
Apparently,
going down in the Rotten
at
Vale.
least.
That's what it seems like, because the effluvium bacteria, I think it's called, it seems to be like expelling this like gas with these little motes of stuff in it. So presumably that's how they would represent the miasma, that lingers in the veil, and that infects like the Gyros and Raphanos.
Yeah. So that seems to be its mechanics. So whatever that stuff does, because I don't know what it does, but the miasma there seems to be coming from it. Kind of not unlike Gore. You know, Gore's blight or whatever you call it. Yeah.
His frenzy virus.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was in English.
Oh, Gaijin Hunter, I also, like a while back, he also posted a screenshot from the Rotten Vale that showed like the hunter having the same like weird smell lines as the infected monsters, so he thought the effluvium
Yeah.
was going to be like a status
Could be.
effect. Which would make sense if
Yeah.
he's using it as an attack,
Sure.
I guess.
So one thing, I guess we'll just talk about the zombie dragon a bit. This is the thing. It was teased at the end of the Rotten Vale trailer. We finally got a good look at it. It's kind of got like a double jaw thing going on, at least a bigger jaw. It seems either be hanging down or it's just some sort of armored extra bone on it, or it just has two jaws. I don't know. It's kind of creepy looking. But I was just chatting with some other people, and by anything, this thing reminds me of like this would totally be in Magic the Gathering. It's totally a black creature in Magic the Gathering.
Right. Yeah. Oh, what I'm just like I can't. I'm going back and forth on it. I can't tell if it's like below the Rotten Vale, but like in the game, it's actually in a separate map that you have to load into separately, or if it's just gonna be like a roaming monster that gets introduced to the Rotten Vale in the late game, or when its story quest comes up.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the hope that I have is that we kind of harken back to the older Monster Hunter days when they did not care about balancing what comes in when. So you'd be on your earliest quest and Rathalos would come swooping down at you. So I kind of hope they sort of just leave it there. So
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot of effort into these maps. Like these are like the first time they're doing something so intricate and like multi-layered, you know. So I feel like they would want to maximize what they can out of these maps, you know, even if it is just throw them in wherever they can figure them out. Because like if we look at the beta, Diablos is just in like that one specific section usually, like the sand pit
Mm-hmm.
right underneath the tree. So it's like maybe like there are specific like zone areas that seem like it would fit them, but we just can't tell right now because it's just the beta.
Right. And yeah, because like Zora Magdaros couldn't work in a map. Like you could put him in the open area in the ancient forest, and like he actually walked through there in one of the cutscenes, but it wouldn't. You can't take those little paths through the forest with a giant monster like that. It'd be so much clipping. It'd be terrible. So yeah, I want to hope that they'll stop doing the Ingle Isle stuff and they'll put dragons like this that could fit in a normal play space in the map.
yeah. You know, what they could do is they could make, because, you know, as we know, they're all interconnected, supposedly, all the maps. At least you
Right.
can actually see the ancient forest from the Wildspire Waste, and you can see the jagged rocks from the ancient forest. I wonder if there would be like an in-between map, like when he's traveling between those areas that we would fight him in. Because you know, all the trailers that we've seen, there's like this giant like sort of canyon he's in, and I could see that being like a
Yeah.
canyon leading into the Wildspire Waste or from it or something.
Yeah. It's weird. You can see those jagged rock, the mountain formations from like every zone, because they're the mountains that like run around the Coral Highlands and the Rotten Vale below.
Yeah,
And I think I even saw them in one of the screenshots of the volcano. So
yeah,
that's our skybox this gen.
yeah. That's my guess. Is that Big Zora is going to be stomping around between maps, and we're just going to have to fight him before he. It's like like a big saga of, like Leo Shun. He travels through that map, get him before he hits the fort, kind of thing. It's just like the whole game is hit him before he hits the town.
Where's my Dragonator, Fortron? Where is it?
I don't know. That guy was asking for it though. That's just funny. Get my Dragonator. Like what? Someone's going to carry it? Oh man. So one of the older monsters returning that I'm kind of glad they didn't show. This is again referring to that leak list. Is Elatrion was not shown. So,
Right.
but I'm kind of thinking like, as far as this leak list goes, I kind of agree with some of the general sentiment I've seen online that it's almost confirmed now that this leak list is at least partially real. Like as far because there's not much left on it that hasn't been shown.
Yeah, it's just thing after thing lines up
Yeah.
with it.
The unfortunate part, and I guess we can transition into Devil Joe, is that Devil Joe we know is a DLC, and Devil Joe's on that list. So that kind of Lobo and I were talking offline this week about it, and we're both kind of worried that like if this is an all-inclusive list and this includes a DLC, it's kind of less monsters than we had hoped. But maybe that's the only ones I know of at this time.
Just real quickly, just to put that in perspective, none of the new monsters, they're not going to just like add a new monster, completely new monster in like March. They're not going to add like the Star Elder Dragon or whatever final boss, whatever it turns out to be in DLC.
Right.
So it's just going to be like the returning monsters. So the only ones that are left that aren't in the base game would be like Kirin and
Right.
Elatrion. So those might be DLC, or maybe like some of the color
Yeah, the subs
subspecies,
too.
maybe that too.
You know, say Orochi, Kirin, Azure with all those Pink Rathian. I don't know why. Because, a lot of people call him Blue Los, which, because he's blue. Azure is just a fancy name for blue. But why did they just, I don't know, try to do some sort of fancy name with Rathian? She's just pink.
Rose Rathian. if
Cherry
you will.
Blossom, because they don't use that enough in Japanese games, right?
Yeah.
Hey, stay away from Mizutsune brand.
Nope, Rathian's taken over.
Oh, one thing. Like I'm looking at the list right now, and I know like this has been talked about by other people. It's like that we were lacking officially an ice zone, or like at least a part of one, And
Mhm.
coincidentally, the list we have confirmed Barroth, but on this list we have no like ice Barroth at all. Do you think that leads to like more confirmation that we're not going to be getting an ice zone at launch at least? Or
It's looking like
It's
that.
looking like the ice zone that isn't mentioned is tied in with the volcanic map. That's what a lot of people were saying. Now, granted, that could just be that Kushala was creating the ice, but it does look like in the higher areas of that map,
yes.
it does look a little bit more muted as far as colors, which could indicate that it's cold. But that's all speculation. We don't really know if there's going to be cold. You would think we'd see a lot more cold returning monsters, though, like the Jade Barroth for its subspecies, or Bariath have a pseudo wyvern return, or something like that. But yeah, we don't.
So, my take on that would be that, like, there's screenshots where you can see these quartz crystals like popping up up from the ground that is like cooled lava. So I don't think
Sure.
they're ice crystals or anything like that. I think it might just be like an effect Kushala has on the environment, or just in its cutscene
Yeah,
when it gets introduced.
definitely
something
in
like
the trailer, you do see ice crystals forming, and that's definitely a result of Kushala for sure. But I think people were talking about the map itself had these structures that were like very, very dark gray looking. But I don't know. I don't know what to think. I think they didn't show off any sort of ice, but they certainly showed off lava. So
oh yeah, they're loving the lava. I mean, they brought back specifically
Yeah.
Lavasioth. It's like you could have thrown Plesioth in there just in the sand. Like I mean they had him. But I guess that's what the other guy's there for, like the new fish dude. Which one was his
Geratatus.
name?
That's how I say it.
Geratatus. I guess they wouldn't want to I guess they wouldn't want to overlap them since he's a mud
Yeah,
Plesioth basically
yeah.
for that section
He's
of the
more
map.
like Lavasieth, because Plesieth is. I'd describe Lavasieth and Geratatus. They're more sort of that coelacanth looking, that sort of ancient fish that has a ton of fins. They're like that, whereas Plesieth is more designed after sharks and that kind of thing. So, I mean, Plesieth. I mean, granted, it's like, that's either here nor there. I think the problem with Plesieth is there's not really a map that has like enough water for it to make even ecological sense for Plesieth to be there.
That's true.
Right. I feel like Giratadas and New Lavasioth, like they definitely like resemble each other in like morphology, like the model does. But like animation wise and gameplay wise,
Oh yeah,
they're
no,
I think a new monster,
everything's
sort of,
been a new monster.
at least to some extent.
We were talking about that before we started recording. Barroth is
Yeah.
completely different in feel to how he used to be. It doesn't feel like you're a matador in a bull ring anymore.
Yeah, the AI is different, but yeah, I guess like some examples like Radovan and Uragan, that's pretty faithful with some new stuff. Whereas I think the fish were completely revamped. We just call them fish wyverns.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Is that
called
lore
Piscean
acceptable?
wyverns, which Piscean, it's all fish. So, one thing I wanted to mention, so Teostra and Lunastra are coming back. For people who don't know, these are previous Elder Dragons that appeared in Generation 2, and then reappeared again in Generation 4. Very redesigned, especially Teostra. So it's going to be interesting to see like a full. So we've only seen Teostra and Teostra and Kushala a couple times, and each time they've been like severely like changed. So it's going to be interesting to see like, because most monsters, they sort of exist a little while with having the same sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like don't really change that much, especially Rathalos. Rathalos was the same first, second generation. He changed a little bit in third, and then he's been that way since. But these Elder Dragons are severely changed. And then one of the things is that shot where we see like the lava like sort of veiling Teostra or like pouring over him or something. That was a cool shot. Yeah, it probably is his intro.
It's probably his like movie.
So what? Yeah. I'm starting to embrace the
Very
anime a
anime.
little bit. So what do you got? How excited are you guys to see these guys come back?
I mean, I'm very excited. It's just like with the list, it leaves a lot to be desired for previous monsters that have been left behind now. Like a lot of, I mean, maybe not a lot, but a good chunk of flagships just aren't there, like Tigrex. I feel like he would be great on that desert map, smashing all the rocks, whatever charging he does. I'm missing Zinogre hard, but I mean, it might be kind of hard to bring him into the game with all his leaping, but I feel like this is a next step. Like it's gonna be hard translating it over. Before that we were recording, we were talking about how each monster is like a fighting game character, And one of the big differences that we didn't talk about is like going from Street Fighter 1 to 2 to 3 is it's kind of easy because it's pixel. You can reuse assets, and stuff like that. But the jump between Street Fighter 3 and all the way to Street Fighter 4 was a big time gap, mostly because of the market, but also because a transition into 3D. We got to remember, like, this is a transition from like how many years of being on handheld with with console ports to like a mainstay console with whole new maps that really redefine the way a monster should interact with the world, and then also a redefined method of hunting with grapples, mantles, and all that stuff that they've introduced. I mean, it's gonna take some time. I don't know if it's balancing wise why there's not a lot of monsters at the start. I mean, there's a good amount. I'm not gonna not play the game, especially since there's gonna be free updates that they confirm. Like free updates will come. They confirmed that officially on Twitter, like through a little video. Also with the PC announcement. I don't know if you want to talk about that later, the date specifically, but like I feel like they're working hard because It's definitely
I mean,
like
yeah,
almost
it pretty
rebuilding the
much
game
is rebuilding
all
the
over
game.
again.
I mean, you can tell they've reused
Hmm.
at least some ideas of how things move, or at least I won't say full models, but I mean, basically, Great Jagras doesn't feel entirely new. He feels very similar to like a Ludroth. So it lends itself more to sort of the Leviathan
Yeah.
chain of things, even though he's a fanged wyvern, which is what Zinogre was. So that's a little different. But there's definitely some moves that are brought over that used to be there. I mean, they didn't remake everything, but it all feels new enough. Like they've redone the fire effects. They've redone a lot of stuff that were just. I mean, how a fireball worked the same from Monster Hunter 1 all the way through Double Cross. As an impact and a slightly larger impact around it once it hits.
Right.
And that's it. It's always been like that. They may upgrade the fire effects to look cooler, but I mean the mechanics of how that worked never changed. It was like a hit, and then it was just after explosion it is a hit. Just like getting. But now, like with Thalos, you can get hit by the fire and get knocked back and everything. But like he leaves like burning ground that will set you on fire if you run over it. They've really redesigned a lot of stuff in this, but for people who like us who have played a lot before, you can sort of still see some remnants of the older games there. It's not like everything is entirely brand new. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you want to keep it Monster Hunter still, like you want to keep the core still
Yes.
there. Like Rathalos being a flagship, he should still be Rathalos.
Right.
Here's to
No,
worrying
not on the
about.
list.
Hold on, what was the list again? Did they confirm silver and gold or no? I forgot. All right. Well, here's hoping that they don't
Yeah.
come back because I don't want to have to stare at the sky for like 10 minutes.
So for me, I'm not really bothered by the list leak. Like some people seem to think it was like really disappointing, and I'm not really that bothered because you can want 40 and 60 and 70 returning monsters, and that's fine. But for me, it's like it's a new game, new purchase. World has almost twice as many new monsters as 4 did, and I was kind of disappointed when I played 4 and I was like, oh, it's all just 4th and 2nd gen
They had
monsters.
Lagiacrus too.
And like Deviljho. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Well, and Cross, but I mean, in like 2015 when we got 4U. Yeah, no, they didn't have any of the monsters from Tri. They had the stuff from Portable 3rd and 3 Ultimate, but not that.
Yeah, I remember specifically 4U didn't have like Nargacuga, which was one of my like, oh man.
It's
favorites.
been
Is that
so
correct?
long since I played
like
4U that I don't remember.
I don't think I'd remember.
I think.
But anyway, with World, like, I'm just happy that the returning monsters that are there are like new fights, because like I feel like even in their 4th generations, Teostra and Kushala, like they could have used like some more love. So I'm just happy that they just like leave all of those old animations behind, or many of them, and just create something that feels new, that like a new experience. So that's what I'm excited for in terms of returning monsters. Because like at least the way I conceive of it, like the 5th gen Zinogre doesn't exist right now. They have to create. They have to put in the work to make this new Zinogre essentially. So I'm fine with them just spending that attention on new monsters instead, because limited resources and all that.
I still think that there are certain monsters that are just cool enough on their own that it'd be nice to still have them around. that's just how I personally felt about Diablos, which that's kind of a moot point. He is back. I mean, he does make sense for an Apex monster. I won't say predator because he's an herbivore, but the sort of cream of the crop of the desert. He makes sense for that. I think it would have been. I mean, personally, I like every boss monster, aside from Shakalaka King, because he's creepy and I think that almost every monster, if it would be put into 5th gen, they could have done something with it. But I do like the idea of us seeing more new monsters too. And if they were let's say, I mean, Plesieth is another one I like. Now let's say Agnactor, right? Agnactor is my second favorite monster. Agnactor would kind of be butting up against Lavasieth for I'm guessing for the same sort of niche in that environment.
I'll give you that. Agnactor would be cooler than Lavasieth.
Yeah. I mean, I like Lavasieth. Like I said, I do like every monster, but I like Agnactor more. But I could see how having him and Lavasieth would be kind of a challenge. But at the same time, it's like I would kind of want to see new ones. For instance, we didn't mention, but there's the Dodogama, I think, is how you say it. But basically, he's another. I'm going to say Fanged Wyvern. He looks like he operates like Jagras. A lot.
Yeah, he's like Jagras, except he swallows explosive rocks and spits out like blast element lava.
Yeah, so he's sort of like a fire, like stony looking version of a Jagras. A lot of people were sort of comparing him to why am I blanking on this name? Tetsukabra. The sort of like frog like
Right.
Amphibian monsters that came in the 4th generation. I don't see that really a lot. I did at first when you just get that one like cinematic shot of him, but you only see his head really, and he sort of has those sort of like fanged bottom jaw like protrusions that kind of reminds us of Tetsukaba, except not huge tusks like Tetsukaba's is. But I think that was really the only connection that people had. I think it is another Jagras type, which I think it kind of gives us, like, here's the low-end monster in the volcano.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to imagine even Lavasieth losing to Great Jagras.
Yeah. Well, one thing I could see happening is that DLC list, going forward, I could see them adding more and more to it. I could see them, as part of that DLC, adding more older monsters, but I'm not sure if they're going to have brand new ones come in that DLC list. It would be cool. But we also don't know how many iterations we're going to have of DLC. If it's going to be how the same amount of support that we got in previous games, it's going to be 1 year. But if this game goes like how the industry was going, like I mentioned in a previous podcast, we could see this being supported for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, with the way they structure the game with live events, live event quests instead of having you download them, it makes it seem like, I mean, if this is the main way they're gonna provide events like live timed events, it would seem like they should be giving out new content through download instead of just like rehashing old guys. Because I would think that they would want these events to be like a character release, like a new guy event would be happening for a limited time, and then maybe they would release him into the main game first day afterwards.
Yeah. One thing I liked about this trailer is that, I mean, personally, I've said this, that, man, I kind of hope there's more monsters. I mean, I said that all the time, but that's just in general. I think more monsters is good, as long as, they're not rushing things, but they don't seem to be. Everything looks great so far. That's sort of like a a small complaint at this point. I see a lot of people concerned about the monster list. We've already surpassed what Monster Hunter Tri had, and people put thousands of hours into Monster Hunter Tri, no problem.
AKA the best Monster Hunter game. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with it being the best, but it was good. A lot of people, so when it first came out, there was a lot of backlash from people who played Freedom Unite a lot because of the monster list, right? I mean, Freedom Unite had 70 something monsters, and we went down to 18. Of course, you're including subspecies and that kind of stuff in Freedom Unite, and also really weird ones like Shakalaka King. And I like Vespoid Queen, but taking a Vespoid and making a boss monster out of it, I mean, that's really skirting on something I wouldn't like to fight. But you get what I mean. It was a big shift downwards in numbers, and that's still I was a big supporter of the game. Anyways, I was like, well, yeah, okay, they had to redesign everything, which is what they're doing here again, right? I don't feel like they did a lot of redesign for 4th generation. I think they just added new mechanics and then sort of applied those to monsters versus...
Yeah, but 4th generation, that was basically using Tri as a base, but adding moves and jumping, right?
Yeah, because after Tri, they started doing the ultimates, so they started giving us the G ranks basically. And they already had it built on the 3DS, because this is under the assumption that the handhelds were the main versions of the games, with the console ports being the HD upgrades. So they had the basis of Tri into 3 Ultimate, and they've just been rolling on that ever since. But I do remember that that 4U was running at a higher frame rate than Generations, and then Generations they capped it. So I don't know if that's a difference in engine, or if it's still just the same thing but optimized.
Different teams, I know that. So the guys doing World are the people who did 4U. And then the off-season team, I guess we'll call it, did Generations and Double Cross. Not saying they're bad. I love Generations and kind of love Double Cross. I think I'd like it if it was in English. But it's kind of hard. I kind of feel for a lot of people, sort of lay hate on the guys who did Generations and Double Cross, because Generations definitely wasn't as optimized. A lot of people don't like the sort of exaggerated hunter arts and hunter styles and that kind of stuff. It really, in some ways, made the game easier and that kind of thing. But I had to say, hands down, the Fated 4 are some of the best flagship monsters they've introduced. So it makes me kind of sad when people are like, screw Generations. I'm like, but you're missing Mitsune and Gameth and Glavenus and I guess Astalos.
Yeah.
Astalos is the first flying wyvern that actually used its wings well. That was really cool.
Are you talking about when it comes crashing down hard?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool and scary. It looks, but then you actually get hit by it, and it's like, oh, this isn't so bad.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because the majority of us didn't get to play. I mean, I did, but the majority of us didn't really get to play the expansion of Generations that was Double Cross. So we're in that land of, we got a main game, we got skipped for the G version, and now we're getting another main game. I wonder if they're going to keep that G version thing, because I highly doubt we have G in what we're playing now for the Monster Hunter World. And I don't think...
Well, this is a worldwide release, though, isn't it? So
yeah.
If we're both getting base, even Japan's getting only base, so there is no G for sure at the start this month. I mean, didn't they confirm G would be coming though as DLC or not? I thought I heard something about that it will be DLC instead of a whole nother game.
They haven't said anything.
I don't know.
So Gaijin Hunter translated an interview that said that they were asked about G rank, and they said that there were no concrete plans and they're just focused on the
Current.
periodic updates.
Oh, okay.
And they said that they were adding new monsters and also new features. So who the hell knows what that means?
Yeah, I kind of hope we see a lot of new monsters come in updates. I just like seeing more monsters. So it makes me wonder if every new big update is like, here's a new monster. Kind of like, fighting games or League of Legends or those kind of things. It's like, this is so-and-so's update, which has all these updates, balance changes, and this kind of stuff. Because I don't know if they're going to do balance changes, but it seems like they could now. But
and
it could be tied to a monster every time, because we know the first DLC is Deviljho. So
it's interesting how they framed that, because they say Deviljho and they say spring. Like, it's not a month, it's just a season, so that would suggest they'd be a little bit less frequent.
True.
Like what you guys were saying before, I don't see them adding a completely new monster in like a periodic update like that, because it's just like a lot of extra concepting work and like research work, and why would you do that when you could just like add Zinogre and make people happy?
Yeah.
But like I fully expect like a year on like an ultimate version or like a Misty Peaks type new area with Zinogre and Drambros and a bunch of new monsters, as well as some returning monsters to
I could see them sort of
take
doing
up space.
the Destiny route. Here's the expansion that they sell as a whole new game.
Well, I mean,
Right, yeah.
Frontier does that, right? Frontier sells G2s and G3s as a whole other game, but it's just an
Yeah.
expansion, right?
Yeah,
So-
Generation 2, Generation 3 of Frontier, yeah. Yep. I could definitely see that happening. One thing I wanted to mention, we're talking about the expansions and that kind of stuff, which basically that's what the Ultimates are. That trend started before the third generation. That's what Freedom Unite was. Freedom Unite was that sort of G rank expansion. Because Freedom 2 was sort of like the base game, and then they added in Freedom Unite, which you didn't see new monsters until you hit G rank, which was a ton of new monsters. Nargacuga, Hypnocatrice, Shakalaka King. Like a lot of stuff. I do believe Vespoid Queen was only G rank. It's just like it was. Freedom Unite was a crazy amount of content, and it was on the PSP. And then we went from a crazy amount of content to arguably the least amount of content in Tri, but still people played a lot of Tri. I mean, I played a lot of Tri, a lot. Tri was another one where I got like maybe 400 or 500 hours in. Lost a save, and then I did it again. So that was a lot of hours. I think there's a lot to be said about how much you can get out of the game, despite the monster count. So
I think I've played through Tri like my first time, which took hundreds of hours, and I only did low rank in single player. Never tried it online. And then I created like 2 new save files, and one I got to beat the main story again. The other one, not so much. And then I've played through like 3U 2 different times. I never really got up into the G rank there either because it didn't have multiplayer. Right. But yeah, I played that game a bunch.
Yeah. I kind of wonder. So part of the reason why it takes so long to get into G rank and that kind of stuff, or high rank even, is there's a lot of sort of like filler quests that you have to get through in order to sort of consume all the content, all the different monsters, we'll say, basically. So the gathering quests and that kind of stuff, the egg carrying quests, it sounds like those are all gone. So it sounds like we're going to be...
Yeah, I heard something similar. I heard something like that too. But then I also heard something about key quests being mainly gone also. Like it's
the story quests.
Story.
I wouldn't call them gone. I would just say they've transitioned to be story quests is all. which is kind of what 4U did.
Yeah, they have like quest categories, like story quests and then optional quests. And there's a couple other things, but when you're in the free roam mode, I think, or just on a quest, I think, you can carry like 6 different side quests, which are gathering
Right,
quests,
yeah.
landing quests,
They're not
delivery quests.
actual quests you have to consume time on, though, really. I mean, you consume time, but you're also doing your main quests, story quests, hunting quests, that kind of stuff. I'm almost kind of afraid
Yeah.
that, we're still going to have the same amount of quests, but something that used to be pretty rare is capture quests. I kind of feel like we're going to get a lot
Yeah.
more capture quests if we took out the other stuff. Which kind of makes me worried, because I don't like capture quests that much.
Yeah, me neither. They'll be easier with the EKG
Yeah.
deal,
I'd almost
but
say it's worth it for that, but not yet.
yeah, I'm wondering. But they also showed like the story quests will have like alternate objectives, so it won't be just fight Baroth. It will be like fight Baroth, and also there's like an objective. At least for that one quest that was in
Yeah.
the preview that Eric played.
I mean, this whole thing just makes me wonder, like, the game's so close, I'm just wondering how everything's gonna look. Like, do you believe that the story mode is just gonna be a mission after mission, or are we gonna have a town?
Yeah, we
Did
have
they
a town.
confirm if we're gonna have a town? Yeah, right? We have a town to walk
Yeah, it's
around.
a,
Now, I'm just like wondering, like, are we gonna have like tickets floating above our heads still, or are they gonna like totally revamp that kind of
I
stuff,
didn't see
the
any
quest
tickets.
board and stuff like that? Yeah.
yeah, they demoed that on the live stream where the Elder Dragon trailer was debuted. They had like 16 people in the sort of like sundered ship gathering hall, so it was a lively time.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Did we talk about everything in the trailer, really? The only thing
Did we talk about Kushala Daora much?
we mentioned him. We didn't really go into detail on him. I mean, we didn't really go into detail on Teostra either. We just sort of talked about him.
Do you want to make a pit stop with them? Or
I mean, it's worth it. So I did mention that they seem like they're generally redesigned better. We did see that Kushala seems to still have his tornado wall, which will be sort of hard to get through.
Mhm.
Very more prevalent now when he does it. It used to just be like this sort of like pseudo white wind around him that you're like, what is this? And then it would just push you away, which having windproof was just amazing against Kushala.
And a poison
Yeah,
weapon.
poison too. Basically, you had to poison him, and he couldn't basically just continuously push you away. He was very difficult to deal with. Teostra, I think, was a little easier to deal with because he just had Blast Blight, which is if you don't take care of it and you get hit, you explode. So it wasn't like actually preventing you from hitting him. Maybe it caused you to play a little more defensively, but nothing that was like you just can't stand near him. I wonder if he's still going to have his nuke, Teostra.
I think that might be what they cut away from in like the monster
Oh.
clashes. Like that might be the end of one of them, which would be pretty cool.
Doesn't that just mean he wins, right?
Well, I don't know, because there's a screenshot of Teostra versus Nergigante, and Teostra, like, his beard's lighting up,
Oh, yeah.
and there is, like, feet and, like, the flame wreath
Yeah.
around him. But also, like, his chest cavity is, like, glowing red with, like, cracks forming on it and, like, shining through,
Mhm.
which is what happens in movies before the bad guy explodes. So, maybe... I don't expect that they'll shower us with Teostra gore, but
Yeah,
they have to make Nergigante seem menacing somehow.
I kind of think like these giant fights. So like when I think about like even matching fights, the only good example we have is Juratatis versus Baroth. They always seem to end in a stalemate. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like this is how this is going to go with Nergigante and Teostra and Kushala. It seems like, it always just ends in a stalemate, and it's not. They don't seem to have like a winning and losing animation. That was something, but again, we haven't seen everything. We just only saw stuff in beta. We know that the beta doesn't have everything because who was it? Puke didn't have all of his moves this past time. We know he didn't, based on the trailers. The thing that sort of clued me to that was the fact that Juratatis, in one of the games I played, I think you can see it on one of my live streams if they're still up. I don't know how Twitch works, but I have old VODs if you go look at my Twitch account, which is just Twitch/421. You can see that we have the Baroth running away limping, me and a couple other hunter friends, and Juratatis does the whole animation where he attacks Baroth, and you're like, oh, he's going to kill him, right? He's limping, he's got him, right? And the exact same thing happened. Baroth just pushed him off. And I was like, this thing is like so close to death. Like, what is going on? So, I kind of hope that there's more dynamic stuff to that. And I'm not saying like they have to have a dynamic situation for everything, but like I would like to see like one side win or the other side win. So like, what if that what if there's an animation for Jagras like just beating the crap out of Anjanath because Anjanath is too injured to care. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Because all we ever saw was Anjanath just wrecking Jagras.
Yeah, I think it's safe to assume that those Monster Clash animations are going to be one-sided like that, or going to always be one way, even in the main game. Just on the example of Great Jagras, I don't buy that he would ever
be limping and running away, I could see grabbing his ankle and pulling him down, maybe.
Yeah, but like, what would he do? Like, try and swallow him, like tail first, like get stuck.
I don't know. Do the death rake that the cats do? Get on him and just start raking him with his back legs. I don't know. I mean, there's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think that'll happen. It would have been nice to see at least some variation on those. It's nice to have them in the first place, so I won't complain. They're awesome.
Just about Kushala and Teostra, I think I would bet that one might end up like a stalemate, like how Juratatis and Baroth kind of trade damage.
Because they're of equal power level, essentially. So.
I don't ever... Yeah, and like, even though Teostra was like, ooh, it's fire, it's scary, like, Kushala was like one of the flagships, and flagships are always winning in these monster fights and opening movies of the past games. And on that note, I very much expect Nergigante to win against Teostra and even Kushala, because he's the big bad of this one.
He's essentially the flagship of 5th generation. Even if we didn't get him on our box art.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the same thing happened for 3 Ultimate, right?
Yeah.
We had Azur with Thalos instead of Brachydius. So.
Well, technically, Zormagdros is also in that box art, the Japanese box art. He's like a little bit of ground at the bottom. So who's the real flagship? Who
I think
can
they
say?
actually called specifically Nergigante the flagship. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm just joking.
Sorry. I just pulled the actually. I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's good. No, I'm guilty of that too.
Man. So, I mean, like, one of the things of the new trailer that we saw, why do I keep wanting to say legendary monsters? I don't know why. Elder Dragon trailer. The Elder Dragon trailer showed us every single monster that we know so far. which was kind of cool. Just like a one shot of like, here's it roaring, here's it doing something. Like just a quick flash between every monster, which that sort of reassured me. Like, hey, the number might not feel great, but seeing that flash of all those different monsters was like, actually, there's enough here. There's already enough here. This is going to be great. And I think that was a really good way to showcase, like, this is what you're going to be doing in this game. Fighting all of these.
Yeah, speaking of which, did you guys end up, well, since we're so close to the game, did you guys have a favorite new monster coming? Or, like, one you're looking forward to the most?
That's a good question.
I don't know. There's kind of
Like, me personally, like, I think, Legenia, or... Yeah, Legania looks so sick. Like, it looks beautiful and ferocious and scary all at the same time. Especially in the trailer. It's like, just like you said, like they showed every monster, but just a little bit of her or it. And I was like, man, that's a really well designed monster. In comparison to the other flying wyvern, Pufel. What's his name? The bat looking.
Palumo, yeah.
Yeah. Like, when I saw him, I'm like, this is just, this is like a cute
Fluff
version of Nargacuga.
Yeah, he's got that weird snaky neck when he's not puffed up. He looks kind of awkward. Although, kind of glad GOG isn't here he'd be tearing us a new one. That's his favorite.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. On Reddit, his little tagline is, I identify as a fluff bat. It's pretty funny. For me, I think it'd be Odogaron, the red dog thing in the Rotten Vale. I used to be really scared of like hyper aggressive monsters like that, but so like a lot of people don't like Rajang that well, or Rajang, or however you say.
Oh yeah, he's not my favorite.
He's hyper aggressive, and he's scary, right? But I like those kind of fights where you have to be on your game, you have to be on your toes a little bit. I actually really enjoy fighting. I did enjoy fighting Rajang in 4 Ultimate. It was the Charge Blade. Because the Charge Blade's a little OP, but so yeah, I'm looking forward to Odogaron just because I think that that'll be a decent challenge. Although we haven't seen a lot of the Rotten Dragon thing. We just saw its intro basically,
and like the one breath attack or something.
That might be cool. Yeah, that might be cool to fight too. I do tend to like dragon monsters a lot. Also, or true dragons, as you call them, with 4 legs and wings, so 6 limbs.
Right. For me, I kind of agree with Zekrom. I think Legiana is like the most aesthetically and like conceptually interesting monster to me, with like the whole cross design on the back of its wings. It carries into that nice armor set, and the glider mantle is really cool. With like the kind of sky blue, and just like with the wispiness with which it can like fold its like moth-like wings, and like how it flips around and like freezes water vapor in the air. I'm really.
It's a cool design.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it interacts with like the updrafts, it and Palumu. And if there's more there than just like sort of elevators to get to different areas of the map. Hoping there's something ambitious, like being able to like fly up and glide and then like slash at them in midair and like pull out the glider back out. I don't know, something like that would be really cool. But but like historically, like I really loved Megarchos and Cedius. Oh, whatever. So it'll probably be that like final boss monster that I'm really into, because like the music and the setting and everything is really cool.
Yeah. Typically they have good songs too. Really good. Just a quick note, speaking about songs. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but there was a version of this podcast before it was Hunter Hub, We just call it the Reddit/Monster Hunter podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I just uploaded episode 2 on the YouTube channel. It's the only place I'm really uploading these things. So I'm sort of uploading the backlog because it was all before. We didn't have the YouTube channel until we did Hunter's Hub. So I'm uploading on Hunter's Hub the old episodes for people to listen to. And that episode specifically, it has Shady Figure as our guest. So that's me, Pax Rayamis, who used to be my co-host, and Shady Figure, who's another mod on the Monster Hunter sub. And this is when we were tied directly to r/Monster Hunter. We talk a lot about music in the game, and, remixes, and, battle music, our favorite themes, and that kind of stuff. So it just reminded me of that. But if anyone wants to listen to that, they can. So I don't know of a lot else in the trailer that we can really talk about, other than maybe some thoughts on Deviljho being redesigned. What did you guys think about it? He was absolutely brutal. He's always been brutal, but he was just destroying that Jagras in that trailer.
Yeah, I mean, Deviljho has always been a special monster in my opinion because of the whole. He's one of the only monsters that eats his own tail. I'm hoping that mechanic comes back really. And then he was one of the first monsters to ever have a second unofficial form, like Savage Deviljho, Permanent Savage Deviljho. It's it was a subspecies, but it wasn't because it's just a form. So yeah, he was always a good entry point, and I'm glad that he's coming back. I don't know if he's gonna be the first monster back. I mean, you think he's gonna be the first monster before anything else comes? But did we get to see his hazard breath
No,
during
we just saw
the trailer?
him
I don't think so,
beat
did
the
we?
ever-loving crap out of a Jagras while someone was running away.
Yeah, he didn't. Sorry, he
So
didn't.
he might be the
Sorry, I was
main
just gonna
stick. Oh, sorry,
quickly.
go
He
ahead.
didn't inflate or anything, so they might have to polish up the flesh textures or something before they show that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the sticking points they're working on is Deviljho expanding. Which, by the way, if you're a new listener, he expands.
I mean, if we're going back to what we saw with Teostra, man, we were talking about his cracking skin and all that, all those textures, that's a completely different looking monster than what we have on even Double Cross. Imagine the veins and the blood and the savage that you're gonna need to put on something like a Deviljho. It's an insane amount of art design that
Yeah, I
needs to
really
go
like
into this.
Deviljho's new model. I never really got close to the actual pickle part of him, but I like how you can see the little fine details in his jaw and how it parts in the flesh and all that.
Yeah, it is. He is the epitome of what we call a brute wyvern. He looks beefy now. He looked menacing before, but this one, holy cow. He's got neck muscles to freaking crush a dragon.
Oh, as I was gonna say, he's probably gonna be the main roaming monster, because that's what he's known for. He's he's the guy who invades your game and messes you up while you're trying to fight something else. So I feel that's it's gonna be his main thing. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna have a quest dedicated specifically to him, but I'm pretty sure the first time he shows up, it's gonna be oh, you're here kind of quest, unstable quest, I think that's what they called them.
Yeah, he definitely started that trend of oh, there is a dangerous monster just gonna randomly show up. The sort of more formulaic one that started in 3rd generation. I mean, I mentioned earlier that it used to be that they didn't care about Rathalos is in your gathering quest because Rathalos is way above you. That was just sort of he's just here kind of thing, and he's just the monster that you'll have to deal with on this quest. But Deviljho was you didn't know if he was going to be there or not. I've told this story on the podcast before, but I don't know if you guys heard it, but the first time my friends saw Deviljho, they were screaming. it was hilarious. They were just like, "Holy cow, what is that?" And they were just like, just scared out of their minds. It was like a giant T-Rex just bust into the room. Didn't help that actually, the random part where he busts in on that map actually he actually knocked one friend up in the air. I think it carded him too. It was just like the first time he's ever seen him, and suddenly an eruption of a dinosaur killing him. Devil Joe just exudes horror. This thing is going to stalk you around the map. It's going to... It's not like Anjanath, where it's like, oh no, it's kind of menacing, but then he runs away. Like, I could see Devil Joe being that monster that relentlessly pursues you.
I mean, it's gonna be even scarier now, like with the new map system, you know? It's like he's not just gonna pop up, he's gonna be like out of the trees, just like in the trailer. And then, yeah. And then, I hope his theme comes
His
back.
theme was in the
'cause
trailer.
His theme's iconic, especially.
It's an updated theme, but
Oh,
yeah,
was
it's
it?
there.
I didn't notice. One thing I will want to say about the music that you were talking about earlier, like for a moment there, like you hear, you hear the main Monster
Yeah.
Hunter theme, right? But like in like a high flute version, right? And when I was listening to that, I'm like, man, this is so Legend of Zelda-y, like the
Yeah.
flute, like the wind instrument version of the song. And I was like, yeah, it's like it really like mystifies the whole game
Yeah.
with that type of
Well, I mean,
instrument
Monster
playing.
Hunter is one of
playing song.
those few old Japanese, well, not that old, but old Japanese franchises with that kind of classical fanfare
Yeah.
main theme, like Zelda, like Dragon Quest, or I guess Final Fantasy. I don't know Final Fantasy, but yeah, it's just nice to see that sort of that one song evolve over
Yeah.
so many different iterations and sequels.
Yeah. The only one that you really see is Proof of a Hero that exists through all of them.
Yeah,
yeah,
that one. That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's been updated twice now. So there was the original Proof of the Hero. Then there was the new pseudo version that plays in Monster Hunter Tri. That's very more flowy, more fluid, like water, I guess. Right. So, and then there's this more, the sort of lighter one that we have now. I don't know if you guys have listened to the intros of these podcasts, but I actually have the Monster Hunter World version of Proof of a Hero, the end of it, for the intro for these.
Good. I love the remix of it with like the kind of like nature evocative trills of sound. The new music has a sound, right? That's in it.
That brings back.
Sorry.
That makes me sad because one of my favorite themes, like in all of video games, is Ukanlos battle music. Man, what I would kill to have that music in this game right now. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever listened to it, but it's like a good song just in itself, the Ukanlos battle music.
Oh yeah.
That's such a good song.
One of these days, we're not totally just inundated with Monster Hunter World news and talk. I'll probably revisit that topic of music in Monster Hunter, because there's a lot to it. There's a lot of music that is just great. Ukanlos, I don't know how you say him, but his theme, that sort of really complicated high-end, high-key piano music is just, that's good. That's really good. It sounds like it's intense. It sounds like breaking ice,
right.
The music itself. It's just, oh man, it is good. It's not my favorite, but it is a good one. The sort of bombastic Brachydios theme, like all that kind of stuff. I really want to hear some of the music that comes out for these new monsters.
Could I raise a question to the room? Or sorry, Zekrom, if you had something.
No, just one more thing. I was gonna say, like, when I was playing Double Cross and I finally got back to the, I don't know what the specific name was called, but like the forest zone of 3rd generation.
Yeah.
Like that has like a specific monster theme when you play in that field, right? Man, the rush of nostalgia when I'm back in like the third generation
The deserted
forest.
island.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
deserted island theme when a monster comes, I'm
hmm
like, man, that's a classic. And then I go to the other Monster Hunters, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't feel like the same rush as I. But I guess that's because I started with third generation.
True.
It feels so good to be back at deserted forests.
Yeah, a lot of people have that sort of nostalgia for. So the people who started when I did a lot have that sort of nostalgia for the Forest and Hills battle music.
Oh, that's right. The trumpets at the beginning of the deserted forest battle, classic.
Very good
Yeah.
trumpets.
Those trumpets.
Yeah, I love trumpets. I used to be a trumpet player. Well, I mean, I still kind of.
This is sort of a tangent, but the Twilight Princess soundtrack, the Code Geass soundtrack, great, very disturbing trumpets. Could I ask a question
Okay.
to you guys?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with the Ancient Forest, you can like drop a boulder on monsters as we've seen. You can flush Rathalos down into the lower forest, and with the Wildspire Waste, you can call a Diablos hit in with the Wing Drakes there. So
Yeah.
we've also seen you can like drop like bones of monsters in the Rotten Vale, but other than that, we haven't seen any sort of environmental like trap or like big set piece hazard in the Coral Highlands, the Rotten Vale, and the volcano. So what do you guys think, Zekrom, Fortune, those might be, or if they will have them at all?
Well, not actual hazards. I mean, we do have the waterfall at the top of the tree. I don't know if you count that as a hazard because you don't really get
Yeah,
hurt
that's
from
that,
it. You
that
just
kind
get
of thing.
thrown
It
off.
damages, I think, Rathalos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have the mud where like they make you like flail around if you get too deep into it, so that's kind of cool. Wait, but that's Wildspire Wasteland though. Um, yeah, not too much on the forest one that I saw.
Well, there's the giant boulder in the deep forest. Crap, I got the
Oh, yeah.
hiccups. Man.
Yeah, I'm just like, what would you speculate? Because I don't think they've shown yet for the latter zones. So what would you guys guess might be there?
Well, I heard that the Poison Veil in general is like you need something at all the time, like a hot drink or a cold drink kind of thing for the Poison Veil, right? Or the
Yeah,
Rotten
you
Veil?
need to use the slinger and like flaming pods to clear the gas,
Hmm.
or else it damages you like weather would.
I mean, I would assume they would have pools of poison just like every other generation before.
Right, yeah.
I could see like a wall of like dead corpses. Because have you seen like there's areas that are just littered with corpses that came from the coral reef,
hmm
coral ridge.
Oh, do you think we're gonna be able to slide down piles of bones like we do in the sand? Like we slide down the sand, but just sliding down
Oh
piles
yeah,
of bones?
yeah.
That'd be sick.
I could see it for sure, especially where we first see that elder dragon or whatever that death dragon is. That area looked like it had a lot of sloping, just like bodies. You could just slide down. I could see like there being like a wall of like bones and corpses and that kind of stuff, and that coming down as a big set piece.
Right. Like,
I could see. So we saw like the end of a rib cage fall down. It's like a spike. I could see like the whole rib cage collapsing down, like just like a giant rib cage of a monster coming down on things. I think there's a lot of things in the Rotten Vale. As far as the Coral Ridge, I could probably see like breaking away parts of the floor.
oh wow.
So you're up on a higher tier and you sort of hit the coral and the coral breaks and they fall and they hit a bunch of coral on the way down.
I can see that.
I could see
Yeah.
just
Like another map in the previous generation had that too. Like in Gen 4, like there's a high top map, like the nesting area, and then that would just like turn on its side, and then that was really sick back
hmm
then. Imagine what they can do now. Like something like that would be really cool in the Coral Ridge. Like it just starts collapsing, you and the monster are, like gripping,
Yeah.
but then you guys both slide off.
As far as the volcano, I have no clue because we haven't seen a lot of it. Like we've barely seen anything of it. But if I were to say anything, maybe there's like a rock that's sort of blocking a flow of lava. You break the rock or move the rock, and the flow of lava hits the monster. I guess.
Yes.
Would
That's
that
um that's what I was
would
hoping
it
you'd
survive that? I don't know, but
That's what I was hoping you'd say, because like with the new particle effects, like I'd love to see lava just like sparking off of like a Rathalos or something.
Mhm.
Because even if Rathalos can breathe fire, it's not going to be like immune to lava.
no, hardly anything is immune to lava aside from the things that just live in the lava and Teostra
Swim in it.
because reasons. Because like Gravius, Ignactor, Lavacieth, they all swim in lava, so I could see them just like it being an impact for them because you are getting hit by molten rock. It's not like lava's light. You're not getting hit by
Hmm.
water. But I don't know. I think it would be kind of OP if it just killed Erythalos.
Oh yeah, no, just do like a set amount of damage.
Yeah. I think it would just do damage in general to anything. That's the only thing I could think of in a lava map that would do that.
I don't think it's positioned like this in like how the map is constructed, but the surface level of the Rotten Vale, as everyone knows, has like the Delameter skeleton.
Yeah,
I wish you could just
what we speculate is Delameter, yeah.
yeah, it appears that way. I can't really see it that much, but
Yeah,
it's a big skeleton, so why not?
right.
It'd be cool if you could just like kick out like the jawbone or something, and just have the whole like fanged skull just snap shut
That would
on
be cool.
a
Yeah, like the
monster.
top of the skull just sort of like slams down on him with the teeth. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like I don't think that's in the game, but like it'd just be so cathartic because like fighting Delameter, it's like this is what it's like. It's one shot kills.
Nice. So where I think we kind of solved the riddle of like what are the 6 maps. We talked a couple times ago, Haru. But Zekrom, just to sort of catch you up on that, there's supposedly 6 maps based on the sort of HUD that we've seen of the maps. So with the addition of the volcano map, it brings us up
Right.
to 5. So we've got the forest, the desert, the Rotten Vale, the Coral Ridge, and then we've got the volcano slash ice slash just volcano, whatever it is. And there's a 6th one, and I'm thinking that 6th one is the arena. Or it could be a different one, but basically, I think we've pretty much solved all the maps. So, do you think that we'll have enough variety in these maps based on what we've seen so far? So, there's a decent amount of monsters that are going to be in the Ancient Forest, but we've not really seen a whole lot of variety in the other maps so far. So, what do you guys think? Like, you think it'll feel imbalanced? Like, obviously the Ancient Forest is the best one because you have this different variations of monsters.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, the beta only has the one map, so, and I even like as a slight casual player, I mean, I did all the missions, but I don't know the
Definitely
map
don't know those trees.
to the back of my hand. The monsters, yeah, the monsters. Correct me if I'm wrong. The monsters don't always spawn in the very same start
No,
of the map, right?
in the beta,
Even in the beta.
very reliably for the Great Jagus quest, I knew exactly where he spawned and exactly how to get to him. I don't know about the other monsters. I do know that Anjanath, 9 out of 10 times I knew where to find him, or at least how to get to him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they do roam a little. Like they roam enough to like not. Yeah. So and there's like mechanics. Like there's like hidden cubbies and everything. I think the maps take a lot of effort. I think. Like more than like section 1 through 11, which is still it was a fine mechanic for however many years we've been playing, but map's big. I mean,
no. What I was
and
saying is,
we have warp
I
points
think
and
all the
everything.
maps look good. What I was saying is, do you think that based on the monsters that we've seen in the various maps, do you feel like because there's a lot of variation on what monsters appear in the ancient forest that we've seen based on trailers and that kind of stuff, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of variation. Let's say in the Rotten Vale, we know of Rodobon, Rotoran or whatever. We know of the Great Gyros, or the poison, or not poison, paralysis Jagras, basically. And Odogaron and Big Skeletal Dragon. But that's about it that we've seen. Like, that's, 5 versus, like, the 9 or 8 that can appear in the Ancient Forest?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then even Volcano can
Sure.
have like Rathalos and Raytheon if you want to. So yeah, like I guess you're right. Rotten Vale is a harder one specifically to do because it's like this is bad guy zone with bad devil monsters. I can see
Maybe.
Diablos down there somewhere. Maybe he fell
That's kind
digging
of
around.
that's kind of what I had speculated earlier because there's Black Diablos in this game, and while it's just a female and it doesn't like necessarily make sense that it would be there on there. I think it would like fit with like digging in and out of the bones, and,
Yeah.
like the whole aesthetic of it.
I don't know. That's like my biggest worry is like I feel like some maps are just going to be like there's just less monsters here, so there's less variation, and I feel like that's going to hurt the whole ecological aspect of it. Because even the trailer shows Deviljho in the Ancient Forest. The Ancient Forest is like packed with different monsters. Because
I
Yeah, that's true.
definitely think Deviljho, as people have speculated, is going to be in the
I
Rotten
think it's going to
Vale,
be everywhere.
too.
I think
at least.
Deviljho is going to be in every map, just
Oh, yeah?
just like the previous games.
Yeah, Deviljho's
I mean,
been in the Volcano before. Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
with the Coral Highlands and the Rotten Vale, they only have like they both have Tzitziyaku and Odogaron, and Coral Highlands has Paloma and Legiana, and the Rotten Vale has Gyros and Radabon. That's 4 monsters that are confirmed that we've seen there. So I don't. Of like the leaked monsters that might show up, I'm guessing like Kirin, Orochi Kirin, maybe even Diablos or Alatrion in the Highlands and Roundvale. But yeah, that question is there for me too. Just these like the Coral Highlands, they've like gone on record saying like this is like the set piece area. This is the focal area of this generation. Put a lot of work into it. I have to believe there's something there, like whether that's like the pink and blue wraths or more DLC monsters getting added into
Yeah.
later. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it just feels a little unbalanced at this point. Again, we don't know everything. We don't know if that leaked list is entirely accurate or if it's missing monsters. I mean, it's still all speculation, but based on what we know, and it's looking at that leaked list is pretty much true. It just looks like it's unbalanced. Because, I mean, even if you add in Lunastra, which, I mean, Lunastra is going to be where Teostra is, which is the volcano. You add in all the subspecies that probably are going to stay in the same areas that the main species is at. Could be different. I mean, none of the, aside from Orochi Kirin, really drastically change what the monster is. Especially Rathian and Rathalos. I could see them being in the Coral Highlands versus the Ancient Forest. But, like, there's just, like, I don't know, it just feels like, at least promotionally, they're very, very focused on the Ancient Forest. Even the second map we saw that has a lot more than the other ones, like the Wildspire Waste, doesn't feel like it has as much monsters. We've got Nergigante, Diablos, Rathian, Jertados, and Baroth. And that's more than the other ones, but still, it's not the same numbers.
Well, it also lets Kuluyaku and Anjanath cross over into the desert, so there might be more. Yeah, there might be more cross population of monsters than we know of currently. And I think just addendum, Kushaladi Aura would be a pretty safe bet for the Coral Highlands, and it's all mountainous and high up in the air and all that jazz.
the Gyros also being up in the Coral Highlands. But I don't know.
that makes sense.
I could also see Jagras being somewhere else too. But I don't know. It to me right now it still feels a little very heavy on the Ancient Forest. But that's probably just promotional stuff. Because it's easy to sort of have like an identity through one map. I mean, every game has sort of had like a focus on this is the map. So like for a while there it was the Forest and Hills, and it was the mountain, then it was deserted island, that kind of stuff. There's always like a focused map. The 4th gen was that weird grassy field, Golden Fields area. And then what is the name of that map? The ancient something in the Generations. Yeah, Ancient Steppes is 4th gen. Generations, it's that
Ancient
dinosaur
Steppes?
map.
Ancient Steppes? Oh, Generations?
Oh yeah, Jurassic.
Yeah.
The
Jurassic Frontier. Yeah. I will say Ancient Steppes was really nice. I remember the first time I went back in there and double crossed that map, and I was like, oh wow, like they have like little particle things flying in the air. Like they have enough resources to do that on a 3DS.
I mean, I said this a couple times. I don't care how bad the environments are graphically. They have always designed really interesting environments, even in the PS2 days. Even running around the Forest and Hills, like you can look off in the distance and you see down there the little tiny, like maybe close to 8-bit Aptonoths drinking out of the water. That's pretty much a background of like tiny little gif of them moving their head or something. It's just like, it looks horrible, but like it still gives you a sense of scope and just grandeur.
If I could play heel for a moment, I'd like to say that all the 4th gen environments are trash. I was actually like going back and like into the Ancestral Steep and like looking around, and I'm like, man, I really wish this grass wasn't so yellow. Man, I really wish the play space, the invisible walls were moved a little bit to the left so we could like fight across the stream or something interesting. Like that area
They
with
were
like
so focused on those jumping mechanics, so they put in a lot of those cliffs and ledges and stuff for you to jump on.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Like
Yeah.
that sunken
like
whatever map.
yeah, Sunken Hollow.
Yeah, that giant area that's like, here's a giant wall.
Are you talking about the one where you have to go like all the way around to get up to the ledge to get to the center of the map? That's like the one where you would fight like Gormagala and Kongala a lot.
No, I was talking the Sunken Vale is the one there's like a giant drop off, and then it's sort of like a sloping down with a bunch of ledges on the slope.
Oh, the pain
Yeah.
in the butt one in the very middle. Yeah, that's the one with the collapsible thing at the very top,
Yeah.
though. So
I don't know.
yeah,
It's all just like weirdly designed specifically for the jumping mechanics. I can see why some people don't like it because it's very overt. It's like when movies put in 3D things.
But just about the Ancestral Steppe, just for one more second.
Sure.
Like in the forest region where you usually fight Great Jaggy,
Yeah.
there's like you can see a giant like red rock like human-made temple,
Yes.
and yet you're playing in this like nondescript like forest area and like field areas. Like, why don't you put us in like the interesting part? Like, nature's great, but like that you've went to all the effort of like rendering that over there, and like why
Yeah,
it's like that thing when people say like in fiction always set your story in the most interesting time period of the world. Like, do that with the levels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they do for the most part a good job of like what you see in the distance is actually something you can go to in a lot of those maps. The example I like to say is when you walk out into the dunes in 4th Gen, when they redesigned it from Gen 1, you're actually in the dunes area, and you look across the map, and you can see like this oasis way down there, which, you know, you go to that oasis, and it's one of the nesting areas for a lot of monsters. And
Right.
then you can actually see up above, there's like this giant like pillar of a rock that has a hole through it, and like each area you get closer and closer to those rocks until eventually you're in that canyon that's exactly below it. So like I think they've always done a good job of like, this looks cool and it feels connected even though it's segmented. Feels a little more cramped in the new map for the Ancient Forest. It's like, oh yeah, you're all around the tree. Like the tree is always very close just because you have to run there. You actually
And I
have
thought
to physically run the whole distance.
the Dunes was a really inspired sort of remake because you could like run or roll across the top of the sand dune, and you would like leap into the air, and that was like a ledge, but it would work both
Right.
ways. It wouldn't be like a drop. It would be
Yeah.
like just ground elevation change, and I thought that was really smart. I just have a slant against the ancestral steep, slant against the steep, because like the whole bright primary, like overexposed yellow, blue sky, and then the red rock structures. That's like the opposite of whatever my aesthetic is.
Yeah, it is. It is a very overt aesthetic for sure.
It's interesting, like watching videos of Double Cross, because like that's the last thing I'll say about it. But they actually like toned it down a lot, so the grass looks like wheat, and it's like yellow, but it's not like the color from a paintbrush yellow. Sorry,
no, it's fine. So, one of the things that I kind of want to do, since this is very early in the new year, I just want to get one story. What was your best Monster Hunter moment of 2017?
Do you mean like playing the game or anything
Anything
to do with
it.
like
If you were
property?
totally surprised by the announcement, I don't know. Maybe you said something online and it was like people really liked it. I don't know.
Well, I'll go real quick. Just at E3, like even after they trademarked World, I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be a Nintendo Switch thing. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be like. It's gonna be like 4th Gen Plus. It's gonna be Double Cross, but like a re-release in the West, and that's the name they chose. Was not expecting this. So like when they released that trailer that everyone hated for some reason, I was at the same time I was like rewatching the trailer like 10 times that night. Like, oh my god, they brought back Underwater. They there's these new monsters. Oh my god, look at the tree. It's like the giant tree from the Sandy Plains in 3. And you're gonna be able to climb it. It's gonna be cool. And so I was just like just a ball of excitement.
I was excited /
that was a fun day.
panic mode. Mostly because the backlash of that announcement on the Reddit / Monster Hunter was tremendous. Like, absolutely tremendous. I don't know if you guys were active at that time. I mean, I know you were active, Haru, but like, what I mean is like, actually there, like the couple of hours after the announcement, that was insane. I was literally just answering mod questions and doing stuff for like hours right after that announcement.
Yeah, no, I don't think I was there like at the moment. Like I wasn't, but I had posted previously on the sub like, hey, I think this Sean on an alt account. I think the Sean Layden quote about Sirius coming back from portable to console, it might have something to do with Monster Hunter. And I got so downvoted, and I just the vindication.
Yeah, it was a crap show.
Maybe it's petty, but
for sure, people were.
That was only after that first leak came out. That wasn't.
Oh no, yeah,
that was before the announcement or anything.
Yeah, before when that leak happened, before the announcement, people were getting downvoted like crazy. Like, no, they're not going to do that. No, they're on Nintendo. Just accept it. No. Oh,
Yeah, for me, I
Yeah.
I was like craving to buy Double X because I just got a Switch, and I was like, okay, just wait till E3, and like just wait for the announcement because like when I heard about the trademark, I'm like, all right, just wait for the announcement before you do anything stupid and buy Double X in Japanese instead of English. And so like the Nintendo thing happens, and you know like the
Oh
moment when
yeah.
Mario Odyssey happened at the end with the
Yeah.
dinosaur, and I was like, Monster Hunter? It's like, nope. I'm like, what the hell? And then the next day at Sony, I'm just watching Sony. I'm like, same stuff as last time. But then like, this you see the back of the guy's soul, the back of the guy's no, the back of him, and I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, is this Dark Souls remake? Cause what did he say to lead up to it? Like this is a start of a classic franchise back again. Like he said
He
something like that
introduced it
specifically or
all.
something
Yeah, John Layden.
cryptic like that. And I'm like, is this Demon Souls remastered? And then
Mm.
like the music started playing. I'm like, what is happening? And then because like they didn't show a monster until like 30 seconds into the trailer or
Yeah,
something, if I
they tend
remember
to do
correctly.
that.
They just had a guy walking around in the
Look
jungle,
at our
being all
beautiful
confused
environment,
like.
which that works for us, right? But to newcomers, they're like, Why
Yeah.
are we watching someone walking through the woods? Is this Edith
Yeah.
Finch in the woods? Like, what's going on? Yeah,
Yeah, it was truly like a trailer for the fans mainly, like that's how I. And then like just looking at the bugs, I'm like, what is happening? What are these bugs? And then I understood what was happening, and I'm like, oh wow, like this is like unexpected. So that was like the surprise moment for me for Monster Hunter this year. I think the best moment game wise would be
hmm
like when I was playing the beta was really great, and then I was playing with Insect Glaive, and I realized
I
there's a
never
move
did
that
that. I
slams
didn't
you
even
back
know
down
that
on the
was a thing.
ground after you launch yourself up. I'm like, wow, that's fun. Like
Huh.
yeah, there's a move that like spin slams you back down to the floor as soon as you launch yourself, and that's when I realized like, wow, this really is the next generation of Monster Hunters. Like I thought it would be like, cause like there was rumors going about like, oh, this is just like a safe play by Capcom to see like, if this fails, they'll just go back straight back to Nintendo and make the real Monster Hunter 5, right? But then like when I played that beta, I was like, nah, I think this is definitely where Monster Hunter should go from now on. Like there's just so many improvements. And there's some things I don't like, but
Yeah,
it just feels like the right direction to go with the series when I played the
Yeah.
beta, and that was a great moment to like be comforted that this game isn't gonna be like easy peasy
they did.
like crap.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that the demo wasn't easy, because I feel
Yeah, they
like they
definitely
made it
did.
easier for the demo, because like yeah, and yeah. So but if this is how things are going, it was a relief to play the beta and be happy with what is gonna come this month.
So for me, I kind of have two moments. I'll say one's in game and one's sort of the community aspect of Monster Hunter. Um, some of you guys may know. I mean, I've been on r/Monster Hunter for like a long time. I've been on it since its inception, 7 years ago. And I've been not day one, but like I've been on there this year one. And I've been a mod for 5 years now. So like keeping up to date with Monster Hunter news has always been something for me. I've always been like straight on time, looking at every press conference from everything, hoping for Monster Hunter news and this kind of stuff. So the big moment for me in Monster Hunter is actually a series of moments. It's kind of cheating, but it's basically the
Hmm.
reveal of Monster Hunter and the result of that. So a little bit of backstory. I did not watch the Sony conference. I had no interest in the Sony conference. That was a Monday night. I was pretty drained. I basically had learned that my grandfather was on his way out of this world. He was dying that night. So I was pretty down. And I was sitting there, and one of my friends who is not a Monster Hunter fan texted me, watch the PlayStation conference now. Get online and watch it. And I was like, I am just not. I am not in the mood. I am not watching it. And then it was this was before we had a Discord as a mod group for Monster Hunter. Before we all just went through Reddit mail and that kind of stuff to talk, and there wasn't like a lot of communication. Like, hey, guys, we need to circle up. Something's happening. That kind of thing. So I was just sitting there, and then I was like, okay, fine, I'll go check it out. And then it was like, holy crap, that's Monster Hunter. I the same trailer, right? Walking, he has the greatsword on his back. He dives in the water, that sort of like ambiance, and then into the trailer. My first realization was like, oh, it's Monster Hunter. This is amazing. And then my second realization, the sub is going to eat itself alive. And then like there was like an immediate pit in my stomach because it did eat itself. Like people were going bonkers, right? So all of this is sort of like the preamble to basically my favorite moment, and it's kind of, I don't know, I really like doing this podcast. So my favorite moment was sort of realizing that, hey, we need a voice because no one in the game industry is really giving a lot of credit to the fact that Monster Hunter just got a new announcement, right? Like hardly any of the podcasts I was listening to said much about it, or there was like a cliff note to them. Like people I really respect their opinion in the game industry just sort of like just dismissed it, right? And I was like, this is just not cool. Like there needs to be a voice for this game. So I got the idea. I pitched it to the other mods. We started the Discord at that point, and they were like, yeah, sure, go ahead, but don't tie it in. We're not officially endorsing it. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I started it up with me and Pax and Ramus, and went from there. And I was so excited. And then like eventually we got Eric's on. We've had some speedrunners on. Like just like it was just so. Even though we're small, I really enjoy doing the podcast. So it was like that was sort of like my moment for Monster Hunter. It was like the sort of preamble to actually like, you know what? No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a podcast. Yeah. So, sort of self-congratulatory, I guess. Sorry, but that's what I liked about 2017 is sort of having the courage to finally start this. There was a lot of factors that went into it, but in the game, I would say is my urgent quest fight with Malfestio and Double Cross, because I killed him with a guard point on Charred Blade. It's very rare that you can actually do enough damage to really do a whole lot with guard points. It's just sort of like a boost, and then you just use the guard point to continue combos and that kind of stuff. It's really most of your damage is coming from attacks, not guard pointing. But I actually killed him with a guard point while I was confused, so while my controls were backwards. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm good."
Nice.
It was a very like, yeah, I'm good at this
Yeah, I don't
game.
think that was self-congratulatory at all. Thanks for sharing that, Fortron.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I just want to discuss like you're right. Like Monster Hunter has always been seen as niche. With Monster Hunter 4 being like the highest selling one in North America, right? Or 4
Yeah.
Ultimate, and it's just it's just like you guys think it's always been like the combatness, like the sluggishness. I mean, people like Dark Souls, and like I don't want to like throw it under the same name, but I like Dark Souls because I like Monster Hunter. But then like it doesn't seem to translate the other way around. People don't like Monster Hunter just because they like Dark Souls and stuff like that.
It's kind of weird. So it's, I think it's part of it is the gameplay, and also, it's I'm trying to how to word this without being offensive, but it's sort of the heavy Japanese influence of this game.
Oh yeah,
So-
that's true too.
That sort of turned me off in the very beginning. So I'm talking like the PlayStation 2 demo disc. My friends were playing it and talking about it, and I'm like, this sounds like really anime. I don't want to play that, guys. I don't like anime. You guys like anime. I don't. Right? It was just like a huge like, no, this sounds way too Japanese for me. Right?
Yeah.
I was peer pressured. I just bought it. I fell in love with the mechanics of playing it. Right? I think there's it's got a bit of an image issue because it's complicated and it's weird to a lot of Westerners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but I would say Monster Hunter is like on the lighter side of like Japanese
Oh.
things. Like,
Yes. I mean, I've mentioned many times in this podcast, I mean, Haru, we've had anime discussions a bit here and there. I am not a huge fan of anime or other Japanese culture stuff. It's not something that interests me. I'm pretty much a average Joe Schmo American from Ohio. I'm not like into this kind of stuff normally, but Monster Hunter, it just, the gameplay, the mechanics, the ecology, everything just came together for me. And it has nothing to do with the Japanese aesthetic of this stuff at all. Right? But I got over that hump basically for me. And I think some people have that issue that they're not into anime and they're not into that kind of stuff. They're like, that's too anime for me. I've seen that a lot.
So, Zekrom, I have an answer to your question about why the series might not be so popular. I think there's a lot of aspects to it, but I think the most overriding thing is that Monster Hunter isn't a human-centric series. It's about animals. It's about nature. And some people are like, ick, ew, boring, blah, 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 blah. And I'm, obviously, you can probably tell, opposed to that opinion.
yeah.
Like, Monster Hunter takes a lot of time to get into. It takes, like, each hunt. There aren't health bars. Well, now there are numbers, but there aren't floating numbers popping up all across the screen like confetti. It's not like an MMO or a traditional action game where everything's lightning fast. And even if it was a traditional action game, the gaming community is ripe to write that off as like, oh, that's just weeaboo garbage. Oh, that's just like God Eater or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So like.
Oh gosh. Oh man, I've played Tokiden. Tokiden does not give me the same satisfaction as Monster
Yeah,
Hunter.
I don't think it would give me that either. So Fortuan, what you were saying about like the gaming press writing the series off at E3, I'm the calm person. I'm not like someone who's screaming or someone who's blah 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 or reacting like, oh my god, look at this. Except if I'm excited by a few things like Monster Hunter, but I was deeply resentful, and I'm still pretty pissed that that fucking IGN kicked it to like their like 5th slot in like 5 minutes in their stupid podcast reaction thing to the PlayStation conference. Like, oh yeah, let's talk about that Spider-Man trailer, not the new game announcement. Let's talk about that second God of War trailer.
Oh my god.
Sony announced a year prior, hasn't done anything, and there's like a trailer 2 a year later at E3. Stupid. So like. I guess I'm just defiant against like the gaming zeitgeist. I think they should pay more attention to this, even if gaming press are strapped for time and Monster Hunter takes a lot of time to get into. Like put in that effort. Learn it. Learn a new series.
Yeah, it's crazy that so. One of the podcasts that I listen to pretty regularly is Kind of Funny Games Daily. Kind of Funny Games, basically. So these are previous guys from IGN. They broke off and did their own thing. They're kind of, I mean, they're funny, right? I used to listen to their non-gaming stuff too, but I have too much stuff. I'm just going to focus on the gaming aspect of them. So their most recent Kind of Funny Games Daily, which was for yesterday, Friday, they mention the trailer for Monster Hunter, right? And it's one of their, big items of the day kind of thing. But they sort of gloss over it still, right? They say, oh, this happened, right?
Yeah.
And they get to the end, and then Greg is sort of like the main host for the Kind of Funny Games Daily. Greg is sort of like the face of Kind of Funny, and Tim is like their Nintendo guy who's, he's one of the co-founders. He's obviously important. But Greg asks Tim, he's like, hey, so Monster coming out, are you going to play it? And then Tim's like, no. And he's like, oh. And it was like, it. Like, and Greg's like, yeah, I'm going to play it. I used to do the reviews for it in IGN. I'm going to play it. And they don't really talk about it, right? And not a lot of these other big podcasts do. And that was like, that's what infuriated me. Is like, guys, this is bigger news than you're giving it credit.
Yeah, I know
And
exactly
a lot
what
of
you
the
mean.
people, they're all qualifying, and it's hard to say like you're wrong. You should be reporting on this because nobody of those podcasts are into the game. You know what I mean? There's not a fan of those people there, so it's hard to really report on something you don't really have a perspective on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like instead of complaining to them, right, getting mad at them for basically not caring about something that they haven't cared about before. There's definitely more people interested in this game. I think we saw that with the Twitch streaming, with the various betas. A lot of Twitch streamers are like this game, right? We saw Maximilian pick up this game full fledged. He did a boss rage and everything. So there's people picking it up, but
Wait,
I think like Cryotic or something was streaming
was
a
he
lot
the
too.
one? Yeah. There was this funny YouTube video about like, oh guys, this is so repetitive, and like he's like on the screen it's just Rathalos fighting with another monster.
I saw
It's like,
that.
I'm so bored.
Yeah, I think that's
I was like, this game is so repetitive, guys, and it's like, oh my god, I'm falling down the hill now. I'm so bored.
So
I think that was Cryotic actually, Zekrom.
Oh, okay.
That's the clip I saw. It's great.
Yeah, okay.
So instead of getting mad at people and being like, why don't you care about this? Why don't you care about this? It's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna do this. Funny thing is, the carve started like weeks after we did, completely coincidentally, and the carve is so much more popular than we are. But they had a following from other stuff too. I'm not saying they're better or we're better. I think they do something different than we do, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy there's two podcasts. There was actually a third too, but like 3 Monster Hunter podcasts popped up within weeks of each other. Unfortunately, the third one is no longer here. I don't want to say their name because I don't remember exactly what it was, but Gathering Hall or something. But they've broken up since. They only had like 3 episodes, which is kind of sad. Like they had their own. I kind of felt like they were from the speedrunning days, like the people who do speedruns. I feel like they used to be speedrunners. So there's that aspect of the community that I'm not super familiar with, which I learned firsthand by having a couple of those guys on one of the podcasts. Like, holy cow, this is a whole new aspect of Monster Hunter. I had an idea of, but I didn't really hear a lot about that. Because, when we talk about everyone's so nice and kind and supportive and that kind of stuff, they're like the Dark Souls end of the community. They're like, get good, do it yourself, that kind of thing. The speedrunning community is like sort of like the other gaming communities out there. Like, we're gonna toughen you up more than support you. It's like, oh, I didn't realize.
Just for the sake of completeness, I wanted to add, just to my point earlier, the other reason I didn't mention about why Monster Hunter isn't as popular as it is because mainstream gaming press sort of did not like into the Wii as much, and this was like was a late Wii title. It was 2010, and then it went to 3DS, and there's separate biases for like handhelds and things, and like the games didn't look like the textures weren't great or whatever.
Yeah.
So that also played into it.
Yeah, the media definitely has not treated Monster Hunter well. And that's kind of weird because it's actually a pretty decently reviewed game.
Yeah, it's getting 9s and.
The weird thing is like these game icons, like they acknowledge that in Japan, if this game comes out in your system will sell. Like they know that for a fact, but like it's just so like everybody knows that. It's like a fact to them. Like, this prints money in Japan, and just like Pokemon prints money everywhere, but it's like
that's what I don't get when people don't report on it. It's like, guys, I understand you have a perspective. You are Americans. you play certain games, that kind of thing. But at least for Pete's sake, if you're going to be an objective like news source for games, you need to say something about this, right? This is something a big deal that maybe not big deal in the United States as much right now, but in Japan this is huge. I mean, like, there's lines around doors for Freedom
Right.
Unite. If you guys ever saw
That's-
those pictures,
Yeah.
lines and lines and lines. Like, this game is not something to be ignored because it actually is an impact in other areas. France, I know, is a big scene for this too, which
I think
it's
that
really unfortunate that we have that horrible meme. I really hate that Jesus Monte. I'd hate it.
Yeah, the sort of different culture
Like,
condescension is
yeah.
a part of it too.
Yeah,
I just want to say, like, I think it's but I think right now, like, the zeitgeist, sorry, big words, has shifted because, like, now anime is like mainstream, memes mainstream,
Yes.
like all this stuff is like being nerdy is mainstream now, and like I think like Capcom or the Monster Hunter team itself is just, it's like they're being smart about it, it's like worldwide release, everybody, and maybe even a little American centric with like the streamlining, but that's okay.
yeah,
And like I think they're going about it the good way. And like if you do want to hear a good opinion on it, you could check out like the Game Informer. They did a video on like the hype of Monster Hunter World, and they pointed some good stuff out. That kind of irked me a little bit. Is like they're like, oh yeah, they got rid of all those stupid animations. I'm like, okay. Like that kind of stuff bothers me, because like I was like, I know there's a purpose to the animations, but fine. Like you can take it whatever way you want, but like this game
Yeah.
is important, and like I'm glad that at least one company like Game Informer like seems to understand it.
yeah. There was so another podcast that I had a glimmer of hope that they would do more on it. Was the Easy Allies? Have you guys ever heard of?
Yeah, I follow them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Easy Allies. Ben Moore is a Monster Hunter fan. He really likes Monster Hunter. He talks about Monster Hunter and Frame Trap a lot. Yeah, especially the betas when he was talking about it. A couple of the other Easy Allies were like, "No, we're going to do this Monster Hunter thing together," and they're actually going to stream it. I do believe they're actually going to work together to. They're really hyped about it. They're more hyped for DBZ, which is coming out the same day.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
But it's a fighting game. It's not like it's going to drown out Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
They're both going to have their own, like following. It's not like they're going to hurt each other being on the same
Yeah.
release day, which is smart. But it's just like there are some podcasts out there that are sort of getting that glimmer of what's going there. I just feel like Easy Allies sometimes glosses it over still. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely, and their
But
community
the-
too. It's like
yeah,
Dark Souls, Dark Souls.
yeah, they're very. I mean, they did the Dark Souls retrospective. In fact, we still haven't finished our retrospective. We still haven't even done Generation 2, even though we released Generation 3 right after Thanksgiving. So we still need to do our retrospective of Gens 2 and 4.
Oh, I didn't know you guys were doing that series.
Yep. You can find him on the YouTube channel. I've got all the videos out there. So, yep, we did Gen 1 and we did Gen 3. And Gen 3 devolves into everyone ganging up on me in favor of Cha-Cha versus the Felines.
Oh dear.
So yeah. But yeah, anyways, I think that's a good place to end it. We actually filled up a little more time than I thought we would, but hey, I think we got into a really good discussion at the end there. I was like, that was kind of good.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Zekarom, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just, I got everything I wanted to say out at the very end. Like, this game is, I already said my moment. This game is certainly the next generation to me, and, I believe in the team. This is the mainstream team, and I think they're going in the right direction for, what the game needs. And if this is what it takes, then I'm going along with it. And it's still Monster Hunter to me, regardless of what other people think. I
agree.
It's still Monster Hunter.
Yeah. I didn't think it was at first, but I'm on board now.
Oh yeah, the beta helped. The betas are smart, especially with the third one right now. Like, they're really cranking them out.
Yeah, we
Good
didn't
idea.
even mention the third beta, so I guess I'll mention that now. There's a third beta.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, there's it's gonna be next Friday. Yeah, next Friday. All right. No, it's a week from next Friday. So
Is it?
it's the 18th, 19th. It's the 19th to the 22nd, so it's the weekend before release. And you get to fight Nergigante. So we have a fourth quest.
Yeah, it
Which-
starts
Yep.
at 6 p.m. PST on the 18th for the US.
Alrighty. Well, I think that about wraps it up then. Thank you, hunters, for joining us today. And remember, we'll see you next quest.
See you in the third beta.
See you on the hunting grounds.
Thank you, hunters, for listening today. You can catch us on SoundCloud or any past episodes on Google Drive download or YouTube.